Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Makwidi. The time is 30 minutes past 9. And we're going to be switching gears now to a very, very concerning turn of events. South Africa's private higher education sector is under intense scrutiny. The Department of Higher Education and Training has moved to deregister three well-known institutions, namely Damelin, City Varsity, and ICESA City Campus for prolonged non-compliance with statutory teaching and reporting requirements. The notice of intent issued by Minister Puti Manamela follows repeated failures by these colleges to provide audited financial statements, proof of financial sustainability, and other compliance documentation required under the Higher Education Act. Officials say the move is necessary to protect students and uphold the integrity of the higher education system, but it has ignited alarm among learners, parents, and educators alike. And with many students going into the new year, those that have matriculated this year, going to look for institutions of higher learning, I think this is a very, very important conversation to have on what you should look out for, especially when you're looking for an institution of higher learning. Because imagine you were supposed to do your last year, in one of these mentioned institutions of higher learning, and you wake up one day and it turns out they've been deregistered. What happens there? We're going to be having a really, really insightful conversation if you're a parent or if you just matriculated or you're just looking to study further in 2026. This is a very, very important one to listen to. We'll be speaking to education activist and teacher, Bontle Goodenough. Bontle, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to News and Views. Really appreciate you giving us the time.
Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners.
But I think this is a very, very important conversation to have, especially looking at this announcement of the deregistration of these institutions of higher learning comes at the back end of 2025. A lot of young people are looking for institutions of higher learning. How would you explain what it means for an institution to be registered by the Department of Higher Education and Training, and why Damelin, City Varsity, and others are now facing this notice of intent?
Okay, let me start by saying that let me give you my profile. I'm a teacher learning support practitioner, so I support learners in all angles holistically. So what I can say is that in this situation, Mr. Matamela, the Minister of Education, I think the decision that he took with his team, it is to protect the student and also to maintain the integrity of South Africa higher education system. Because by so doing, it shows that every organization or every company, they know that they have to comply. So they have to be compliant. So, something like this, because now the institution will be given a chance to make the representatives before the final decision is made. Because remember, they were given a time since 2024, and the department the department will support the affected students through academic and administrative. Because this something like of this nature, it is definitely frustrating and compromising the student. I mean, like now, some of the learners they're going to apply for tertiary level, and if the institution it is not compliant, what is going to happen? Even the parents are going to be frustrated because those learners, they won't be able to be accredited to other tertiary levels if they have to continue with their studies.
And I think that's a very, very important point. But just looking ahead, as I mentioned, we're going to be, going to the new year. This is a rather busy year for parents, for students who maybe just matriculated. They're looking for institutions of higher learning. What would you say are some of the key things that people should look out for when they're looking for institutions of higher learning that are not necessarily your traditional universities and TVET colleges that are owned by the government but are private. Because I think, there are a lot of scams that will be going around. We're going to be seeing more of these cases where they're deregistered and people are left with no other options because they've given money to these institutions. They are not really funded by the state as government institutions are.
Health, I'm sorry, it is a big challenge because also the Department of Education, they must also try and see if maybe they can speak to these people and give them maybe another enough time, not enough time, they can give them maybe a grace period so that, they can be able to accommodate these new learners because, it's the students. It is so frustrating that come January, then you as a parent, you're expecting your child to go to a tertiary institute, and then at the end of the day, your child cannot be accepted. The universities are full. So I think they need to maybe sit down and maybe have some solution, some kind of solution just to accommodate the students. They actually have to think for parents, and also because at the end of the day, these learners and parents, the students, they are going to go to those institutions that are not registered, and those fly by night. So in this term, they have to, because remember also the Damelin, this Varsity University. I mean, people these are already a known institution. So you know what? According to me, I think maybe they should be given a time so that they can admit these learners and allow them to register January.
And if these institutions are deregistered, what are some of the potential ripple effects, that could come, to the students that were registered with these institutions, and how could they mitigate this? Do they now go on to take a gap year, or do they look for other institutions of higher learning? What could be the solution here? As you mentioned, these are very, very well known institutions, and they have a lot of students.
Yes, we have a lot of students in the country, and some sort it is going to affect the learners. Some of them will drop out, and it is going to have an impact on the dropout students, because some of them will decide to take a year gap, and unfortunately they won't be able to go back. And with my experience, I know that some of the universities, like most of the universities, the universities like I can give you the example with UNISA. We will always get a complaint to say that they said that they are fully booked. Unfortunately, they cannot accept more students. So in this, I think the department, the government has to look into maybe expanding these universities, because we have a few universities, we have few tertiary education, and they know that now lately our students, our children, they actually want to study further. So this thing is going to frustrate the learners, and it is going to frustrate also the parents. So the department, the minister must also sit down with this non-compliance universities or tertiary levels to say, look, this is what we need to do. Because I think also the problem is the documentation, because the documents, you might find that the documents that the document that is required from these people, it is the document that sometimes is so difficult for them to access that document. So they have to sit down so that they can accommodate our children, so that they can understand that this thing is going to frustrate our children and also going to frustrate the parents. Because not every child will go to UNISA, or will go to UP, or will go to Johannesburg University. So they have to accommodate those institutions. They have to sit down. They have to give them another chance. Maybe they must give them a grace to say, okay, fine, we are giving you a permission. You can accept this learners, but maybe by June you have to make sure that you are compliant.
Mm, mm, mm. And just lastly, before I let you go, would you spoke about the fact that you are a teacher, you are an assistant to students. We're going to be going to the new year. There'll be a lot of scramble for young people to find institutions of higher learning, especially those that didn't get space because they didn't apply early. What advice would you have to those young people and parents also, those that are still seeking institutions of higher learning for their children?
I can say that to the parents, they can just be patient. I know that it's not an easy thing because when when the learners are at home, they become frustrated and they end up, embarking in wrong things. So I'm saying that, you know what, maybe if they're having problems, let them try to other institutions. Let them not sit back. They must just uh, try to be focused, not to be desperate, because desperation is going to lead
Mm,
them into wrong things, because they're going to end up going to this non-compliance institution. So they must also find out on what can they do for these children, and they must always advise and encourage these learners to say, don't lose hope, and maybe next year you can also apply again, because we know that some of them they even apply earlier, but you might find that sometimes some of them, because of the scoring point, so they can just rewrite some of those ones so that maybe they can try and upgrade their subject while they're
mm.
still waiting to be accepted from the university.
Mm, mm. Let's talk about gap years, because I think you sound like you're not a fan of people taking gap years. Is it something to do if you didn't get space, or you should try by all means straight after matric to find an institution of higher learning? Is a gap year an option if you didn't get space?
Yes, they can take a gap year, but if maybe, for instance, some, because remember, we are not the same. Some,
Mm,
maybe they might find that maybe a gap year, they become discouraged due to this gap year. Maybe they can also look into Tibet. They can also look into doing the internship, and start maybe some other things, maybe to apply for some, maybe other companies whereby they can be able to give them these learnerships and so forth. Because we do have, I know that in Braamfontein there's a place whereby they're giving learnership to all the students, especially the matriculants. So maybe they can check those kind of places, those kind of organizations. They mustn't just sit back.
mm, No, most definitely. I think we're going to leave it on that note, Bontle. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us the time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, and thank you to the listeners.
Okay, that was Bontle Goodenough, education activist and teacher, talking to us on the looming deregistration of Damelin, City Varsity and ICESA, a development that raises serious and pressing questions about compliance, quality, and student futures in South Africa's higher education sector. We're going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.